Some topics, people just don't like to talk about them,
Mhm.
especially when we're talking about getting older.
It's true.
And one of those is self-pleasure.
Yeah.
We're kind of tiptoeing around it.
Hmm.
But what if we changed how we thought about that? That's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
We've got these excerpts from a source that's like not afraid at all to just go right at this.
Yeah, it's pretty direct.
Super conversational, almost like we're like sitting down with someone, like a wise friend who's just telling it like it is.
It is fascinating to see how we talk about these kind of sensitive things changing. I mean,
Yeah.
self-pleasure, especially as we get older, it's like it's been hidden under this like cloak of shame and being taboo for such a long time. And what's refreshing about this source is like it's just so open and honest.
Yeah. Like advocating for self-love and no guilt when it comes to pleasure.
Exactly.
It's like they're saying, hey, it's okay to enjoy yourself. And the person we're hearing from is a 72-year-old guy named Raphael. And he's like so passionate about breaking down these stigmas. Like it's not just, okay, he's saying self-pleasure could actually be good for your health.
That's a bold claim. We should probably look into that a little deeper.
Okay, yeah. I'm intrigued, but I'm also a little skeptical.
Yeah.
So let's get specific. He starts by talking about the benefits for men, especially for their prostates. And he even mentions this research that says there's like a 30% lower risk for men over 40 who ejaculate regularly. 30%.
Wow, that's a big number. Is that for real?
Is that even possible?
Well, it's not just like from one study. There's actually been a lot of research, and it all points to this idea.
Mm-hmm.
Frequent ejaculation and a lower risk of prostate cancer,
Yeah.
they seem to be connected. The details of how that works, that's still being studied, but it's definitely interesting.
Okay, so there's some science behind it. What about women? What does he say about that?
Right.
He talks about like reducing period cramps and preventing pelvic congestion. What even is that?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
It doesn't sound very good.
Pelvic congestion, no, it's not fun.
Yeah.
It's basically when blood kind of gets stuck in your pelvic area,
Ah, okay.
which can be uncomfortable or even painful. Imagine it like a traffic jam in your blood vessels.
Oh.
And self-pleasure, especially when you have an orgasm, it helps clear that up by getting the blood flowing better.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about the period cramps?
Right, well, when you have an orgasm, your body releases endorphins. And endorphins are like your body's natural painkillers.
Hmm.
So it kind of makes sense what he's saying about self-pleasure maybe helping with cramps.
Interesting. So we've got some possible benefits for both men and women.
Yeah.
But Raphael, he doesn't stop there. He claims that self-pleasure can help with like headaches and even like trouble sleeping. Come on, how is that even possible?
Well, again, it goes back to those endorphins.
Okay.
They're really powerful. They can actually work as pain relievers. So that could be why it helps with headaches.
Makes sense.
And for sleep, when you self-pleasure, your body makes prolactin. And prolactin is this hormone that makes you feel relaxed and sleepy.
Wow. I'm starting to get how Raphael is making these connections between self-pleasure and just feeling good overall. But I've got to say, I'm still a little unsure about this idea of self-pleasure messing with your hormones. Like testosterone in men, isn't that a problem?
Yeah, that's a common thought. But actually, research shows that self-pleasure doesn't make your testosterone go down.
Oh, okay.
In fact, some studies show that it can actually help keep your hormones in balance.
Good to know. Good to know. But Raphael, he goes beyond the physical stuff. He starts talking about self-discovery and like being intimate with yourself and having a healthy relationship with your body.
Mm.
And that seems extra relevant as we age, right?
Absolutely. It's about realizing that your body is still a source of pleasure and well-being, no matter how old you are or whether you have a partner or not. Self-pleasure can be a way to connect with yourself, explore your sensuality, and feel comfortable in your own skin.
I like that. Being comfortable in your own skin
Mhm.
and this whole idea of self-love and being intimate with yourself, I feel that's got to be super important for people who are single or don't have partners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you don't need someone else to feel good, you know?
It's true. It's about being self-sufficient,
Yeah.
about taking care of your own well-being, both physically and emotionally. It's like a reminder that pleasure is something you can create on your own, no matter what your relationship status is.
So this is all pretty positive stuff, but like anything else, there's got to be a point where too much of a good thing isn't so good anymore.
Right.
And Raphael, he does say to be careful about going overboard with self-pleasure.
He does, yeah. He talks about balance, about listening to what your body's telling you. Like if it starts causing you stress or if it gets in the way of your everyday life or if you start feeling guilty or ashamed, then that's a sign that maybe you need to talk to someone, get some professional help.
So it's about moderation and like checking in with yourself. But this whole conversation makes me wonder, like, why is this topic still so hush-hush, especially when we're talking about older folks?
Yeah, it's complicated, but I think it has to do with how society views aging and like all these cultural beliefs that kind of link getting older with like not being interested in sex anymore.
Right, right.
Like there's this idea out there that once you reach a certain age, poof, no more interest in sex or pleasure, which, let's be real, is just not true.
And that kind of thinking can be really harmful.
Absolutely.
It creates shame around something that's perfectly natural and healthy.
Yeah.
It's almost as if we're trying to pretend that older people don't have any sexuality, which is crazy.
It is. It's not only unfair, but it also ignores the real needs and desires that older adults have.
Totally.
Sexuality is a lifelong thing. It doesn't just disappear when you hit a certain age. Our needs and desires, they might change over time, but they definitely don't just vanish.
So how do we change the conversation around self-pleasure and aging? How do we, like, challenge these outdated ideas?
I think it starts with talking openly and honestly, like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We need to be willing to talk about these things without all the shame and judgment.
Yeah.
We need to create spaces where older adults feel comfortable sharing their experiences and asking questions.
And education is key.
Absolutely.
We need to give people accurate and age-appropriate information about sexuality and aging, bust those myths, and promote a positive view of self-pleasure.
Exactly. It's about empowering people to make their own choices about their bodies and their well-being.
Yeah.
It's about challenging those norms that try to tell us how we should feel and act as we get older.
Instead of seeing aging as, like, this loss, maybe we can see it as a time for growth and exploration, a time to embrace pleasure and joy.
I love that. That's a great way to look at it. And that's what's so powerful about what Raphael is saying. He's encouraging us to embrace our right to pleasure, to let go of all the guilt and shame and just explore what feels good for us, both physically and emotionally.
You know, this makes me think about all the different challenges that older people might face when it comes to exploring self-pleasure. Like, what are some of the obstacles they might run into?
Well, for some people, it might be physical limitations.
Right.
Like arthritis or just having less mobility can make certain positions or techniques difficult. But that doesn't mean pleasure is off the table.
Right.
It just means finding what works for your body.
I can imagine there are emotional hurdles too, right?
Oh, definitely. Especially for people who grew up with all that shame and stigma around sex. Years of that negativity can be hard to shake. Some people might worry about what their partner would think, while others might struggle with their own changing bodies and desires. It can be like this inner battle, between what society expects and what you believe is okay at your age.
So how can we help older folks navigate those challenges and embrace self-pleasure in a way that feels safe, comfortable, and empowering?
Well, I think the first thing is to encourage open communication with healthcare providers. Doctors can address any physical concerns, suggest different techniques, and even give you resources for more information.
That's a good point. We often forget that doctors can be a big help when it comes to our sexual health, no matter how old we are.
Yeah, they can be a great resource.
Yeah.
And there are therapists who specialize in sex and intimacy, especially for older adults. They can help people work through emotional blocks or relationship challenges.
And there's so much information available online and in books these days.
So true. There are tons of resources out there that offer accurate, age-appropriate information about sexuality, self-pleasure, and intimacy. It's all about finding what feels right for you and your body.
Yeah, it's about remembering that, like, you deserve to experience pleasure, no matter how old you are.
Exactly. And if you run into any bumps along the way, don't hesitate to reach out. Talk to a healthcare provider, a therapist, even a close friend or family member.
Yeah. This deep dive has been so eye-opening, honestly. Like, it's made me completely rethink my own ideas about aging and sexuality. I think what I'm taking away from this is that pleasure is like a basic human need, and it doesn't have an expiration date. You know what I mean?
Totally. And by embracing self-pleasure as part of a healthy lifestyle, we can really improve our well-being, challenge those old norms, and just celebrate the joy of being alive at any age.
It's like we're taking back our right to pleasure and saying, hey, getting older doesn't mean giving up on the things that make us feel good.
Exactly. And that's a powerful message, not just for each of us individually, but for society as a whole.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, Is there like one key takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with?
I hope our listener feels empowered,
Mm.
informed, and maybe a little more comfortable with the idea of self-pleasure being a part of a healthy and fulfilling life, no matter how old they are.
And maybe a little more curious too, like ready to explore and discover what brings them joy.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, there's no shame in seeking pleasure and taking care of your needs. It's an act of self-love and self-respect.
We've explored the potential benefits and kind of challenged some of those old taboos, but as a final thought, I want to leave you with this. How might changing our understanding of self-pleasure impact our whole approach to aging and well-being? It's something to think about as you keep going on this journey of self-discovery.
That's a great question to leave our listener with. It encourages them to really think about what they believe and to consider what might be possible when we see pleasure as a natural part of life.
And remember, this conversation doesn't end here. There are tons of resources out there if you want to explore this topic more. Don't be afraid to reach out to healthcare professionals, therapists, even trusted friends or family members.
And most importantly, be kind to yourself, listen to your body, and never stop exploring what brings you joy.